Imagine waking up in the morning without a cup of coffee. For billions of people around the world, that is almost impossible to imagine. Coffee is the fuel that starts our day. It wakes us up. It brings us together. It is the second most traded product on Earth after oil. But have you ever asked yourself where this magical drink came from? Who was the first person to look at a small red bean and say, I should roast this and drink it? The answer is not what you expect. It was not a scientist. It was not a king. It was a goat. Yes, a goat. This is the story of the goat that discovered coffee and the incredible journey of the world's favorite drink. Our story begins over 1,000 years ago in the highlands of Ethiopia, in East Africa. It was the 9th century, around the year 850. In a region called Kaffa, there lived a young goat herder named Kaldi. Kaldi was a simple man. He lived a quiet life in the mountains. Every day, he took his goats to the hills to eat grass and shrubs. The land was green and beautiful. The air was fresh and clean. Kaldi knew every tree and every bush on those hills. He knew which plants his goats liked and which ones they avoided. But one day, something strange happened. Something that would change the world forever. Kaldi noticed that his goats were acting very strangely. Usually they were calm and quiet animals. They would eat grass slowly and rest under the trees. But on this particular day, they were running around wildly. They were jumping, they were dancing on their back legs, they were making loud, happy sounds. They were full of energy. They did not want to sleep. They did not want to rest. They just wanted to run and play. Kaldi was confused. He had never seen his goats behave like this before. He sat down on a rock and watched them carefully. He noticed that his goats were eating something different. They were eating the bright red cherries from a small shrub. Kaldi had seen this plant before. It was a simple bush with dark green leaves and small red berries. It grew everywhere in the hills. He had never paid much attention to it, but now he was curious. He decided to try the berries himself. He picked a handful of the red cherries and put them in his mouth. He chewed them slowly. At first, they tasted bitter and a little sweet, but then something happened. He felt a strange energy. He felt more awake. He felt more alive. The tiredness in his body disappeared. He wanted to dance too. He had discovered the power of the coffee bean. Kaldi was amazed by his discovery. He could not stop thinking about those magical berries. He filled his bag with as many as he could carry. He wanted to share this discovery with others. He ran to the nearest monastery, which was a place where monks lived and prayed. He told the monks about his dancing goats and the strange berries. The monks were not impressed. They thought the berries were evil. They believed the energy came from the devil. They threw the berries into the fire. They said, "This is the devil's work. Burn it." But something wonderful happened next. As the berries burned over the fire, a delicious smell filled the room. It was a rich, warm, and wonderful aroma. The monks had never smelled anything like it. It was so good that they decided not to burn the berries. Instead, they saved them from the fire. They crushed the roasted beans and put them in hot water. They drank the dark liquid for the first time. They were amazed. The drink was bitter, but it was wonderful. It kept them awake during their long nights of prayer. They could stay awake longer and pray more. They thanked Kaldi for his discovery. The magic of coffee was now known to the monks. This is a beautiful legend. It is a story that coffee lovers around the world tell with a smile. But is it true? Historians are not sure. Many believe that the story of Kaldi is just a myth. It is a story that was passed down from generation to generation. There is no written record of Kaldi from the 9th century. The story only appeared in writing much later, around the year 1671, in a book by a French scholar named Antoine Faustus Néron. So Kaldi may not have been a real person, but one thing is certain: coffee really did come from Ethiopia, and goats probably did eat the coffee cherries. So the legend is rooted in truth. But we know that the journey of coffee did not end in Ethiopia. The monks loved their new drink. They used it to stay awake during their prayers, and soon word of this magical drink spread beyond the monastery walls. coffee moved from the hills of Ethiopia to the Arabian Peninsula. By the 15th century, coffee was being grown in Yemen. The city of Mocha in Yemen became the center of the coffee world. People there called the drink kawa, which means that which prevents sleep. The drink was still bitter, but people loved it. They added spices like cinnamon and cardamom. They drank it in special coffee houses called kave khane. These coffee houses in the Middle East were very important. They became centers of social life. Men would gather in coffee houses to drink, talk, and listen to music. They would discuss politics, religion, and philosophy. These coffee houses were called schools of the wise because people would have such intelligent conversations there. Coffee became a symbol of hospitality. It was a drink that brought people together. From the Middle East, coffee continued its journey. It traveled to Europe in the 17th century. At first, Europeans were suspicious of this dark, bitter drink. Some people called it the bitter invention of Satan. Priests in Italy asked the Pope to ban the drink. They said it was a Muslim drink and that it was evil. But Pope Clement VIII decided to taste the drink before he banned it. He tried it and immediately loved it. He said, "This drink is so delicious that it would be a pity to let the infidels have it exclusively. We should cheat the devil by baptizing it." And so, coffee became popular in Europe. In Europe, coffee houses quickly became very popular. They were called penny universities because for the price of a penny, you could buy a cup of coffee and have a fascinating conversation. Important people visited coffee houses. Scientists, writers, artists, and politicians all gathered to share ideas. In London, coffee houses became places where people started newspapers and insurance companies. In Paris, coffee houses became the meeting places for thinkers who started the French Revolution. Coffee was more than just a drink. It was a force for change. From Europe, coffee traveled to the Americas. The French, Spanish, and Portuguese brought coffee plants to their colonies in the Caribbean, South America, and Central America. The soil and climate were perfect. Coffee grew very well there. Today, Brazil is the largest producer of coffee in the world. Coffee became a global commodity. It is grown in over 70 countries. Over 2.25 billion cups of coffee are consumed every day. That is an incredible number. It is a drink that connects the whole world. So, what can we learn from this story? Coffee did not become the world's favorite drink by accident. It took time. It took patience. It took a simple goat herder who was curious enough to try something new. Kaldi did not discover coffee because he was smart or educated. He discovered it because he was curious. He saw his goats doing something strange, and he wanted to know why. That curiosity changed the world. One small moment of curiosity led to a global revolution. The same is true for learning English. You do not need to be a genius to learn a new language. You just need to be curious. You need to be willing to try something new. You need to be willing to make mistakes. Kaldi's goats were not afraid of the red berries. They just ate them. They were curious, and that curiosity led to something amazing. So the next time you feel nervous about speaking English, remember Kaldi. Remember the dancing goats. You will not discover coffee, but you will discover a new part of yourself. And now I have a question for you. Do you drink coffee? How do you like to drink it? Black? With milk? With sugar? Or maybe you prefer tea? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more English with fascinating stories, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click the bell so you never miss a new story. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. And remember, be curious.